Hi, my name is Gabriel from Mat Out, and today we're going to be talking about designing work areas. Let's get to it. Now, a lot of us, believe it or not, do most of our work at our kitchen tables. So kitchen tables are an important workflow design option. Why do we do that? Because we're super comfortable sitting down, doing our hobbies. Maybe we're doing a jigsaw puzzle, whatever. A lot of our workflow is at our kitchen table. So what is the standard height to be comfortable working at a kitchen table? Well, here in North America, right, because I live here, we still use a lot the imperial system. So in North America, we're going to be talking about 30 inches. So anywhere else in the world, they use the metric system. So we're going to be talking 700 millimeters, which, by the way, if you're wondering, is 28 inches. So why is it important to know that there's two different standards depending on what measurement system you're going to be using? Simply put, because you got chairs, and chairs are going to be different heights. So in terms of this here, what's important to understand is that they're rounded numbers, right? So 30 inches is easy to remember for here in North America. 700 millimeters is easy to, remember if you're using the metric system. That's why they happen. Now, underneath the table, we have an apron that I didn't draw. The apron is usually around 4 inches from the tabletop. That helps secure the tabletop and also helps hold on to the legs. A lot of times the leg room, where the legs are going to be positions, are either going to be right at the corners of the tables or inset by about 10 inches. So that's going to give you room for your knees and stuff like that whenever you're going to be sitting at a table. In terms of room for your table, so let's draw a table here. In terms of room that you need in order to use your table as a work space, we'll use orange for workspace. Well, most of us, whenever you're eating, we take around 2 feet of room, so our elbows don't knock the people behind us and whatever, right? So we have a diameter around us of 24 inches. If you're wondering, in metric, that's around 600 millimeters. Now, in terms of workflow around here, the amount of room that you need around the table, to be able to get in and out of your chair and stuff like that, we're still going to be talking about that 24 inches. I like the 3 feet rule, or the 36 inch rule. Whenever you got a work surface around, I like having at least 36 inches between the workspace and the wall or any kind of obstacles. Because if you have to pick something up that's on the ground, you don't want to knock your head on something, and usually you use around 3 feet whenever you're going down. All right, let's go to chair design. So a chair has a seat, has a front leg, a back leg, which is grossly exaggerated on the angle, and your backrest. Right? So this is your standard chair. If you're using a chair that is designed for a table that is designed in North America, your chair height is probably going to be 17 inches, 17 and a half inches, around there. If you have a table that is designed in Europe or anywhere else in the world, chances are it's going to be around 15 inches. chair depth. So we're just going to do this, your seat. So chair depth, so depth of the chair, so this part from here to here, from here to here. So the depth of the chair is going to be anywhere from 13 to 16 inches. The width in the front of the chair, you want anywhere from 18 to 20 inches. In the back, you're looking at around 16 to 18 inches in the back. So 16 to 18 inches. And these are standard sizes. If you're doing custom work for somebody else, they might want something different, obviously. Now, in terms of the angle of the seat that comes on, so the angle off vertical is anywhere from 0 to 5 degrees. The backrest is anywhere from 15 to 25 degrees. The backrest in the back here is a reason why it goes behind where the pivot of your chair is, and that's because gravity works downwards. So this is your gravity, it works downwards, and whenever you're pushing a chair back or you're leaning on a chair, right, your center of gravity goes a little bit further back, and you don't want to go behind this pivot point. So basically it just keeps your chair on the ground. It's a good idea. But here's an important note here. Okay, we'll go with green with this one because it's important. This is important. So wherever your backrest is, wherever your backrest ends up, your back leg cannot go behind this area. This is a danger area for your back leg, because around a kitchen table, a desk, anywhere where you're going to be sitting down and working, if you're going to be walking behind a chair, anything that's behind your backrest is a tripping hazard. So you don't want to trip with something in your hands, with a coffee or a bowl of soup or something. So understanding that your back leg cannot be on this side. This is a basic dining room, office chair type of idealist for design work. To be comfortable, right, and working at a desk or something. Now, other work environments. Another place that is commonly used in our households for work environments are the kitchen. The neighborhood lab. The kitchen. So how are kitchen cabinets designed? Why they design like that? Simple answer, because you have a stove in your kitchen. Right? And stove manufacturers said to themselves that the average person at a comfortable height while working at a stove is 36 inches. So your kitchen cabinets that go next to your stove to be, so it looks nice, are also going to be at 36 inches. Now, in terms of comfort, right, we use the bottom 2 inches and we inset it as a toe kick area so that you don't always knock your feet against your kitchen cabinets. Your upper cabinets, usually stand proud from the wall by about 36 inches. That's probably the maximum, a foot maybe. It also, in terms of height, from the kitchen cabinets countertop to the top, is around 18 to 24 inches. Why is that? Because microwaves and, you know, kitchen appliances exist, and they're set up at around that height. The depth of your kitchen counter. The stove, right? Maybe there's going to be a sink here. So the depth of your kitchen counter goes along with the reach that you have. So we normal people with average sizes, have a 2-foot reach area, so 24 inches. That's about the depth that your kitchen countertops are going to be, just because of the reach area. In terms of workflow around your kitchen, let's build a standard kitchen type of idea. You know, you might have an island, right? Maybe a pantry, maybe a fridge. So in terms of workflow and areas in which you need to work, well, between your kitchen countertops and any kind of other surface, you want that 36 inch or that 3 feet rule that I talked about earlier. In terms of work area, well, you want to be able to walk the least amount between workstations and your work area, just to be less stressful and everything else. So what a lot of designers are doing are triangulating your work areas and your work surfaces, and where your food is stored and where your wash-up stations are. So you end up, you know, triangulating from your pantry to your workstation, from your fridge to your countertops, from your stove to your countertops, you know, from your countertops to your sink for water. So your general area of working is going to be in this area, least amount of work, you know, stepping and whatever. That's the whole idea. Now, in terms of shop purposes, let's talk about, you know, woodworking, because I'm a woodworker. So let's talk about shops. Believe it or not, 36 inches is still a standard size for most things inside your shop. Here in North America, that is. If you're going to be buying a North American built table saw, so a table saw, right? I'm going to build myself a little cabinet saw. You know, fence, workstation, blade, you know, there should be a guard on top of there. So here, if you buy a table saw here in North America, you'll find that the table saw is going to be at 36 inches. If you buy a table saw made, let's say in Japan or Taiwan in Asia, you'll see that the table saws are probably going to be around 34 inches. It's good to know, especially if you're doing an outfeed table. But also, I find that 34 inches is a pretty good, comfortable height for a assembly table. Now, in terms of a workbench, I'm a little bit taller than the average. I'm 6'2". So my workbench, right? My workbench. Notice I'm right-handed, so my vise is going to be over. Wow, I got problems. I got too many markers. So my vise is going to be on my left side. So in terms of a workbench, right? So a workbench, My height that I'm going to be using for my next workbench is going to be 40 inches. I find that comfortable for me to be banging on stuff, working with hand tools. I don't have to bend as much. It stays on my back. But as for assembly, I prefer a little bit lower because you're always going to be working on top and stuff like that. The important thing here is the vise location. Vices are orientated towards if you're right-handed or left-handed. If you are right-handed, you want the vice on your left side of your body. If you're left-handed, you would prefer having it on your right side of the body. Main reason why is because most of your work surfaces is going to be on your right side if you're left-handed, and you want your vice to be right on top of your leg. Because if you're going to be banging on something, you want it to be as close as possible to where the gravity is going to hit the ground. In terms of workflow, I'm going to go over my work environment here. This is how my shop is set up. My shop has a L shape. Over here is more my wood storage, my lumber. This is storage. All right, my table saw is right there. Over here I have a jointer. I have a router table right there. On the side here I have a couple of machines that I use a little bit more rarely. I got my planer. I have a planer. I have two of them. I have a sander. This is a drum sander, and I have my bandsaw. On this wall, I have my chop saw, and I have a couple of bench machines over here, and I have a mortising machine over here. And my workbench is right there. Now I try to keep 3 feet between my workbenches minimum and the wall and everything else. So that's my 36-inch. Over here, same thing, 36-inch. I have 8 feet between my table saw and my workbench. That's because my material is 8 feet long. I don't want to get jammed up against my workbench. I also have my table saw orientated towards that way. Because if I'm going to be walking over here, I don't want to walk around and past my lumber. That's just important for me. Now, you might be wondering, why do I have my jointer at the end of my table saw, right? Again, it's for steps, because a lot of times whenever I'm dimensioning my lumber, I will straighten one side with my jointer, then go to my table saw to straighten the other side. If I'm going to be using my planer, I'm going to move my planer over here, because this goes on top of my table saw. Use my jointer, planer, and my table saw as a surface where I can put my lumber on it. In terms of my workflow, I'll go from, dimensioning my lumber, which is over here, to my workbench or my chop saw, and from my workbench to my router, or from a chop saw to my router. And this area here is where most of my time is spent. Or here. Also, because my vise is right there, and this is my work area. So this is how my workflow is, to keep me from walking unnecessary steps, right? And of course my lumber storage, whenever I grab some lumber, I grab more than what I need. So yeah. Now, if you like this video on this designs, go ahead and subscribe. Leave me a like, send me a comment on how I can improve or whatever, how you set up your workshop. And yeah. Keep posted, because I have plans for other things coming. I hope my stomach noises are not showing up on